So I had this idea to make a drop in a bucket ripple effect, splash effect quite a while ago, and I've been wondering when I was going to do it. This original wooden vase thing, that was a project from actually several months ago, and I had some problems with it. I never ended up selling it or using it, and kind of stuck it on my shelf of shame until I realized I might be able to use it for this other project. So this is part of the video showing making that. It's out of willow wood. I had a big huge willow tree die on my property years ago, and I've been saving pieces of it for different projects. I like the grain on it. It's really pretty. But again, I had some issues with some mold and a crack or two, and so I kind of just stuck it on the shelf until this project came up. So what I tried to do was to make a huge splash effect with clear resin, and unfortunately you see that mold I made leaked, and most of it ended up on the bottom, but it did fill up the bowl part, and I thought, maybe I can still use this for something. This really is a tale of how many failures can you string up in a row and still come out with something nice looking. But anyway, I realized there was enough resin in the bowl to work with, and I thought it might be kind of cool to have a clear base, kind of half wood, half clear resin that would look really nice. I was tempted. There was even some blue tape stuck in it, and I thought, let's leave that on there. Maybe it'll be kind of a cool ribbon on the bottom, but it cracked, so yet another failure with this. So I kept trimming and trimming until I got rid of everything but clear resin. It wasn't really centered really well, and I realized that at this point. But I kind of like the off-center look to it, give it some more interest than just having everything perfectly symmetrical. So you'll notice with the finished product, it kind of rides up on one side, but the whole thing is perfectly round. It just is part resin and part wood. I decided several months ago to put some of my hobbies to work for me, to raise money for Operation Underground Railroad. My nephew Hiram talked me into getting a lathe a while back, and started making some bowls and things, and I thought, what if we sell this stuff, raise some money for Operation Underground Railroad? You can find them at OURrescue.org. That's OURrescue.org. These guys go around the world identifying child sex trafficking rings. They do sting operations, break these kids out of jail, so to speak, and find places to put them that are safer and as responsible as they can, so they don't end up back in the same situation. Tim Ballard started that group, and they have to date saved, I think, their 4,000th kid. It's an expensive operation, an expensive process to get a kid out of a third world country, or to do a sting operation even here in the United States. And so they need as much money as they can get. These guys are awesome. They do amazing work. They often put their financials online on their website, so you know exactly where your money's going. They spend it as if your money was sacred and accomplish amazing things. So go to OURrescue.org and make a donation. So I decided to screw the holder on here so I could get towards the end of the bowl portion. I didn't leave enough room to put the end in the clamp, and I didn't want to ruin it and have to start over with the finishing process, so I just screwed in the end. I don't usually do that, but it worked out just fine in this case. So I trimmed the bowl down to leave the clear resin, which had a really clear finish to it. Thankfully, very few bubbles except right on the wood. So I trimmed the wood down to expose the clear resin more so I could get kind of a splash effect. And then I had to do some research on what ripples look like, and so I tried to make it so the outer rim is splashing over, and then the subsequent ripples are further and further apart, as if something's been dropped in the water and now you've got a drop rebounding. Some really amazing super slow-mo videos out there that show that, and I actually did one of those on my YouTube channel. I think it was called the Splash Zone. But we kind of experimented with dropping things in a cup and shooting it in super slow motion, and I love doing that, and I love the effect and the look of it, so I thought, let's do a project and try to encapsulate the appearance of that in a sculpture of sorts. So that was the goal that I set out to do here. As always with my art projects, I never end up with the thing I set out for, but there was enough to work with on this project that it still came out. It was something I'm really proud of, very happy with it. I put this online to be sold for O.U.R, and it was sold before I woke up the next morning. A fellow woodworker bought it, supporter of what we're doing, and he was extremely complimentary of this project, and can't say thank you enough for people that humor me and support what I'm doing. We also do some painting, some cinematography, video, photography work, all of which can be purchased, and 100% of what I earn or any profit we make for any reason goes right to O.U.R. I do this all for fun. I have a day job. I'm a foot and ankle surgeon, and that keeps me plenty busy, and thankfully been blessed enough to need anything else. And so when we do these projects, it's all for fun. Our project so far has raised about $4,000 this year. We started back in late March, early April, and it's been quite successful. I put a lot of these pieces in my office, and my patients seem to be super generous, and a lot of them have bought things, and we donate the money directly to O.U.R. You'll notice that I'll show the making of the water droplet. I was going to make it as part of this in one solid piece, but because of all the resin sinking through my mold, I didn't have enough to work with. So what I did is I actually hung a balloon from a little cardboard box inside my pressure pot. I filled it full of the clear resin. I actually did 2 of them, just in case I screwed one up. And it's a good thing I did, because I wasn't sure of the dimensions and how it would look. And thank heavens I'm married to an actual artist. My wife Annie helped me realize the dimensions were off, and I kept coming back to the water droplet, making it smaller and smaller, and I think we finally got it down to somewhat reasonable, realistic dimensions. I'm sure somebody's going to watch this and get after me for using gloves on a lathe. Bit of a debate out there whether it's safe or not. As a surgeon, anytime I get a little cut or nick on my hands, I gotta wash my hands 1,000 times a day, and any little cut just takes forever to heal because I'm constantly washing my hands. So I'm extremely careful, and I've never had a problem with the gloves. I wear them super tight, and it's been okay. I don't recommend it for people. There are a lot of stories out there of people having fingers ripped off, but if you're super careful, it seems to be okay, and I'm able to avoid the small injuries that plague me more frequently, obviously. So on this section, you'll see me come back again and again to resize this droplet. Every time I got it about right, my wife would go, want to try again? It's not quite small enough. And I hate to admit it, but she was right. When we finally got it down to the right size, I was like, oh yeah, that's way more realistic. The other thing I did is right here, I decided that it needed a bit more of a flare. It was too symmetrical. It was the stalk of the drop was way too straight. So I added a bit of a flare to it, took it down another size or 2. I actually sanded this thing to perfection like 3 times, and then kept changing my mind. If you look really closely, you'll start to watch this. You'll see this thing start to wobble. The resin is rock hard when it's cold, but when it starts to get warmed up, it starts to get soft and wobble in the middle. So I had to readjust my tailstock and get the compression out of it a little bit so it didn't wobble as much, and let it cool down a couple of times. My nephew Hiram put me onto this wet sanding stuff. I'm not even sure what it's called. I have to look it up, but tends to get you down to the high 5 to 10,000 grit, which for clear resin is, I think, necessary because it's so easy to see the imperfections. This was a scary moment, drilling a hole right in the middle of your creation. I was worried it's going to catch or rip it or crack it, but it worked out just great. I resorted to hot glue just because I was a chicken. I didn't want to do anything stronger than that in case I messed it up. I could redo it. My only criticisms of this project was the bubbles formed right on the wood, and even though it was in a pressure pot, they didn't come out. I'm not sure how to avoid that. I've done several projects with pieces of wood within resin, and the majority of it looks really clean and clear, but sometimes you get these little bubbles stuck on the wood. And if you're listening to this and you've got some suggestions, I'd love some suggestions on how to get rid of those. Inside the resin, it's perfect. It's just the interface between the resin and wood. Sometimes the bubbles just cling to the wood, and I can't seem to get rid of those. For this project, I used teak oil, T-E-A-K oil. I've had good luck with this stuff. It dries in a few days, hides blemishes in resin really well, and ends up with a nice glossy finish. The more coat you put on, the longer it takes to dry, but I've really liked it. It's been good. It doesn't leave streaks and brush stroke type things like you see with the polypropylene or polyurethane type finishes, and it cleans up easy, doesn't make a huge mess, and I've liked it. So I've got an Etsy shop set up. Again, everything we sell goes right to Operation Underground Railroad. For me, this is a hobby. It's for fun, and appreciate your support. We also have this YouTube video set up. YouTube channel set up to raise awareness and spread the word. So anytime someone subscribes or likes our videos, it helps to generate awareness and money for Operation Underground Railroad, and that's where 100% of our profits go. So please subscribe, please share. I hope you enjoyed this project.